In these projects all my life, I can do something. I can go somewhere. Maybe I could be somebody.
I was always saying, what happened to our people? Why can't we have somebody that I can really look up to? Then when Jackie came in 47, I said to myself, boy, I got a chance to, get to the majors. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I have a chance to do that.
With Jackie offering them hope, a bevy of talented African-American players made their way to the majors. The majority of these young stars would follow Jackie to the National League, giving it a huge advantage.
There were so many good black ball players, and the National League was way ahead of the American League about getting the black ball player.
Ernie Banks, Willie Mays, Frank Robinson, Hank Aaron, and Jackie's teammate Roy Campanella, these transcendent players would come to dominate the game. Going into 1959, an African-American had been named the NL's most valuable player in 8 of the previous 10 seasons. Fittingly, Jackie would be the first to be honored with the award in 49, and Campy would follow his lead by winning 3 of them.
Campanella fouls a homer into the left field seat, his second in as many days.
When Roy Campanella was at the top of his game, I don't think there was ever a better catcher in baseball history.
Roy said that you had to have a little boy in you to play Major League Baseball. I never saw him a day when he said, oh man, I'm tired. I wish we didn't have 2 today. He'd say, we're going to play 2 today, man. He said, I used to play 3 in the Negro League.
Led by Robinson's intensity and Campy's enthusiasm, the Dodgers won a World Series and 5 pennants in an 8-year span. Also home to other great players like Duke Snider, Carl Furillo, Gil Hodges, Pee Wee Reese, and Don Newcomb.
The Mariners are trying to win their 4th game in a row. Hi and welcome, everybody. This is Dwayne Kuiper and Mike Krukow here for MVP Baseball. The starter, Pedro Martinez. Welcome to this American League matchup featuring the Seattle Mariners and the Boston Red Sox.
And now, second baseman.
This guy is great at getting the bat on the ball.
And we talked about how he would take the subway to Ebbets Field. And he'd get out and he'd go by shopkeepers and people selling meat and restaurateurs, and he'd be saying,
First pitch of
hey,
the game
Pee-wee,
is a
go
ball.
get him. How you doing, Cap?
A great-looking
Get to the
field to start
ballpark,
the
and he said
game.
it was like going into a bar. How you doing, Ben? What's up tonight? He said it was
Martinez
that
throws
intimacy.
him with a fastball
Everybody
strike.
knew one another.
1-2 the count.
Great pitch to the flat. We're going to call strike even if the batter didn't
was the
swing.
core of that whole ball. And what we did in that ball
Fastball
branched
misses
out,
inside.
and we touched other areas of the country and of the world, in fact. And it was
Line
an
drive right to
institution.
the third baseman.
At the heart of this cultural phenomenon was Jackie Robinson.
Everything gets
And in
us
1956, he would lead the Dodgers to their 6th pennant of his career. It would also be his last. With Robinson's retirement,
And that's a
Brooklyn
strike.
was losing a hero. But after the next season, they would lose something more. Roy Campanella would have his career tragically cut short.
He's pitched
in a car
115
accident.
innings this season, and batters have had great
Campy's,
success against him with an average of
accident
294.
stunned the whole team when we found out he was actually paralyzed. We didn't
In
say
tight.
a word. We just couldn't speak.
Before they could get over the loss of their 2 great heroes, the borough of Brooklyn
Strikes
would
out the
lose their
batter.
entire team.
Hey, good strike
As the
one.
Dodgers
Keeps plowing
announced,
away for
they were
strikeout.
moving to Los Angeles for the 1958 season. For Brooklyn fans, the pain would be both immediate
The
and
next batter
long-lasting.
is Adrian Beltre.
When it came out that we were moving to L.A., oh my God, they went up in
Fastball
arms.
down in the zone. Stride.
They couldn't believe it, could not believe it. It was
Hit
like
the other
losing
way
a
to
loved
the
one.
right side. He's on first with a
59,
base
there
hit.
were 2 teams on the West
Oh,
Coast.
my, he
An
just
exodus
smokes
had
that
occurred
thing
years
right past the
earlier
infield
when
for a
the
base
Dodgers had
hit.
moved to L.A. Meanwhile, their old New York rivals, the Giants, had settled in San Francisco.
Hit the other way to the right side. Got him. And now for a look at the home
Despite
team
playing in
lineup.
Seals Stadium, a minor league park, the Giants were enthusiastically supported.
At that time, they were filled up every game, and they were obviously a sensation.
And the biggest reason for that was their sensational center fielder, Willie Mays.
Willie Mays, without a doubt.
Up next, Johnny Damon.
Greatest player of the game.
Caught him looking.
He just loved the game.
Ground ball taken to the left side. They make the play.
Beltre made a nice throw right there, straight right on target.
Stepping in, Lance Berkman.
Was the fact that he just seemed to be having the time of his
for a
life
strike.
out there.
Baseball is like you're walking
That
in
ball
the
is
park.
driven deep, and
go
you
out
can forget it.
You look up in the sky and you say to yourself, boy, this is a beautiful day. Baseball to me is
was going to get caught.
With Mays leading the way, the Mid West seemed to invigorate the Giants when they had a winning season in '58 and got off to a strong start in '59 as well. But for the Dodgers, the transition wasn't nearly as smooth.
Well, there isn't much seasons in baseball, but you're leaving Brooklyn and you're going to Los Angeles. Will it matter to you?
Next up, Miguel Cabrera.
We haven't been there yet. But I think my main concern is to have a good ball club.
And the strike.
Things are pretty nice wherever you go if you can win.
But for the Dodgers, it wasn't going to be that simple. Winning was something
Liner right
they'd
at the
taken for
second
granted
baseman.
for over a decade.
That's a great
But
play on a
this
very
was
tough
a
line
new
drive.
time
That's one of the
and
toughest
new
balls in
base.
baseball to judge.
Campy's not going.
This
Jackie's
batter's been
going.
known to go on streaks versus
Moving
right-handed
from our
pitching.
friendly confines
He
of
strikes out about
Edgefield
7
to
per 9 innings. A
the
pretty
Blitz
impressive
of
total.
Hollywood and the West Coast. That was a pretty big move for
The
him.
count's even
The
at
Dodgers
one.
now play
He's
their
got 11
games in the
wins
Los
and 8
Angeles
losses this
Coliseum,
season.
a converted football stadium. Its unusual shape and
No
especially
swing.
its distant right field fence made many of the Dodgers unhappy with their new home.
I remember Duke Snyder used to complain all the time because he had a lot of balls that would run out of Ebbets Field that they caught there.
The right center field fence was about
With 1 inning played, Seattle trails by 1.
That's
This team's
a long
really
way.
struggling. I don't know if
to
they'll
hit a
ever be
baseball.
able to climb out of the cellar.
And the pitchers suffered with a left field fence that was too short.
You know how far it was to left field? 251 feet.
I know I looked up, and before I could say Jackie Robinson, I was 0-6. And I thought, man, I said, I just won 17 games in Brooklyn the year before. And I said, what in the world is going on?
More than just the team's location had changed. These Dodgers were no longer the fabled boys of summer.
Duke, Pee Wee, Hodges, we basically had all had our best years behind us.
This one's going to fall in for
For
a
a
hit.
team that had grown used to success, the '58 season was a rude
Good
shock
start
as
to
the
the inning,
Dodgers
a
finished
leadoff
next
single.
to last, their worst record in
Time that ball
14
at bat,
years.
that ball had no
And
chance
as they
of being
began the
caught.
1959 season, the Dodgers were in need of some inspiration. They would receive it in an unlikely source, their former catcher,
Swings and
York
lifts one to
Yankees.
right.
On May 7th, the
got it.
Dodgers held a tribute for Campy. It was an exhibition game against the
Nice
Yankees to
pitch there
raise
to get the
money
fly
for his
ball.
medical
Nice work,
bills. A record
Next at the plate, Richie
93,000
Sexton.
people attended.
All of the lights will be turned out.
And a fastball in for a strike.
Tonight, on his last trip to the mound, the city of Los Angeles says
Easy play for the left fielder.
They told everybody.
The left fielder makes the catch.
Each one of you. The light. One.
The next batter is Ichiro.
What a sight that was.
The amazing thing is, Roy never played 1 inning in Los Angeles.
Caught
And
him
yet,
looking.
He strikes out about 8 per 9 innings. A pretty impressive total.
fandom in California caught the spirit of Roy Campanella. It was powerful.
The fans of Los Angeles had reached out to the Dodgers, and now it was time for the Dodgers to return the favor.
Martinez steals,
meant a lot.
and it's 1-2.
It was
He's
something that,
registered 9 wins and 3 losses.
you know,
so
we
far.
got to do. We got to win for people in LA. We came out here and they expected us to win, and we've got to show the fans that we're still a good ball club.
Heading into the bottom of the second, the
As the
score is
1959
1-0.
season got underway, the New York Yankees fully expected to win their fifth
Dirksen
straight American
steps in
League
at the
title.
plate.
The Yankees were
Here's a guy who hits
with
right-handed
superstars
pitching
and
fairly
featured Hall
well.
of Famers like three-time MVP
Misses with the
Yogi Berra,
fastball,
known for his
100
waiting
miles
for
an
it,
hour.
and Triple Crown
Sometimes
winner
you try to
Mickey
make the
Mantle.
hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly what you saw right there.
In crucial situations, the powerful and talented
And the count is 2-1.
That is pinpoint control right there. The catcher set a target on the corner, the pitcher just hammered it
Going
for
into
a strike.
1959,
This
the
guy usually
Chicago
pitches
White
deep in the
Sox
game
had a
whenever he
record
starts.
for
You
8
will not see
consecutive
him tire out
seasons,
very often.
and had still failed to overtake New York.
It always seemed, and my father would tell me this all the time, my uncles, it always seemed like the Sox would be within maybe 2 or 3 games. They'd have a big 4-game series. The Yankees would come into town. Mr. Parker would
This guy's pretty good against right-handed pitchers.
This would be a big series against the Yankees.
Right over the inside edge.
The frustration of getting beaten by the Yankees was hard for Chicago to deal with. But as far as losing was concerned, that was something the White Sox fans were used to. It had been 40 years since the Sox had last won the pennant, and that pennant was certainly not one to be proud of. In 1919, the American League champion White Sox lost a tainted World Series to the Cincinnati Reds, and that team will live in baseball infamy as the Black Sox.
We have guys who actually
matters
lose
in
the
the middle
World
of the pack
Series.
when there's a
They
right-hander
actually
on the mound.
gave it away. If any team should have been cursed by the baseball
And a
gods,
strike.
of course it should have been the Chicago White Sox.
Whether it be karma or coincidence, the White Sox would suffer long and hard.
And the
30
Sox
years of
retire.
false early attendance.
With 2 innings
30 years
played,
of
the
watching
score is
Cubs
1-0.
steal their thunder. 30 years of
Stepping
becoming
in,
a has-been
Raul
in
Ibanez.
baseball.
But in 59,
This hitter
the White
enjoys
Sox were
modest
ready to
success
change
against
their
right-handed
fortune.
pitching.
Chicago
towards
team
the
hasn't won a
shortstop.
pennant since 1919. How do you think Chicago
The
will
catch
this
is
year?
made by the shortstop.
He didn't get all these balls. Fielder strolled over, got in there, made an easy play.
Really think you can win the pennant this year if you get a few breaks here and there?
Yes.
Our skipper predicted that
Martinez seals the
we're gonna
strike.
win
The count
this
is
year.
0-1.
And all the guys start thinking, hey, you know, we
It's
can
hit
go
out to
ahead and
center.
go all the way.
Damon should have no
We can
problem.
do things.
He makes the
And as
play.
the season began,
He didn't get all
it
that
seemed
ball.
as if the
Fielder
White
strolled
Sox
over, got in
optimism
there,
was
made an
well
easy
founded.
play.
And the biggest reason for
righty is
that was the
fantastic
spirited
against
play of
right-handed
the best
pitching.
players, in particular, second baseman Nellie
There's
Fox.
strike 1.
Every winning
He
team
showed
has a
excellent
leader
command of
or
that
a
pitch.
spark.
Strike right on the edge of
And
the zone.
Fox lit the fuse for the Chicago club.
He was a little pepper potter.
Gets a strike
left-hand
high in the
hitter,
strike zone.
almost never struck out.
Foxy has a double and 2 singles today.
I think Whitey Ford said in 12 years.
The count's 1-2.
Struck out Fox one time.
Going out of the zone.
He thinks
Fish
umpire
weren't
blew the
biting.
call.
And Fox's partner on the infield, shortstop Louis Aparicio, was turning heads with his
The
spectacular
count is
play.
even at 2.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. It's
Once
exactly
in a
what you saw
while,
right there.
I'm playing center field and I should be doing something, but I'd stand there
It's a
and
full
all
count.
of a play
Don't know
that
why he was
really
trying to get him
made.
chase one there.
Aparicio teamed with Fox to become the league's best double play combination. And as the team's leadoff
Foul
hitter,
ball.
Little Louis
Terrific
also
at bat
ignited
right
the
here.
offense with his quick bat and quick feet.
Louis, you do many things well, but I think a lot of the folks come out to see you get the
Deep
jump
fly
on the
ball
pitcher
to
and
left
get those
field.
stolen bases.
He
He
dives and
stole
makes a
56
fantastic
bases, which
catch.
was a groundbreaking number in Major League Baseball. He really brought the stolen base back into the game.
After 2.5, the
Aparicio
score is 1-0.
set the tone for, hey, this is what a leadoff hitter should be.
Together, Aparicio and Fox perfected the art of small ball.
Here we get the single. Somehow got the
Takes
second.
a
Now
pitch
he
just off the
got
plate.
a ground
1-0.
ball to get him the third.
Sometimes you
and
try
I'd
to
hit
make the
a
hitter
fly
chase
ball.
your pitch. It's
That's
exactly
how
what
we
you saw
scored a
right
lot
there.
of runs.
But it wasn't
One ball
just
and one
Aparicio
strike.
and Fox, as the White Sox at 59 were getting contributions up and down the lineup.
They had a
1 and
speedy
2.
center fielder, Jim Landis. They had a guy named Jungle Jim Rivera who used to dive head first into bases.
They were dubbed the
Gathers it in
Go-Go
with his
Sox,
glove.
known for
Got
their
him.
fearlessness on the base paths and their airtight defense. But this season, they would feature an additional weapon, a true ace. They had traded for Early Wing the season before, but he had pitched poorly and looked even
Hitting
worse.
is not one of these guys'
Pitchers were doing
strengths.
sprints in the outfield as they do. And Early Wynn was not happy about it. He looked like he was about 45 and grizzled and big pot belly, and he looked completely over
What a catch.
being an athlete.
But this season, Wing would return to vintage form. and bring the White Sox staff a new toughness.
Next up, Johnny Dickman.
If a person took too good a toe hold or hit a ball through the middle, he'd probably go down next pitch.
He was a hard-nosed player. Like he said before to many reporters, he would knock his grandmother down just to win the game.
Anywhere but
and
under
he was
the
that
hand.
kind of a pitcher.
Chicago had gotten off to good starts before.
1-2 count.
But this
Pitch
season
said,
felt
come and get it,
different,
but the
as
batter
new
could
owner
not
Bill
find
Vack
that
made
slider.
every game a big event. From exploding scoreboards to circus animals
Ground ball to the shortstop.
to innings on the infield.
That'll do it for the Red Sox
for the
in the
Go-Go
third inning.
Sox in Comiskey Park.
With 3
in
innings played, the
1959.
score is 1-0.
Anything is possible.
Next at the plate, Adrian Beltre.
This right-handed
LA
hitter is
manager Walter
considered,
Alston
well,
had
is
a
considered one
daunting
of the best
challenge
hitters in
when
the
it came
game.
to the 59 Dodgers. He wanted to recapture their place at the top of the National
He
League,
delivers.
but the team was at a crossroads, and it was
Yank to
his
the
job
left
to
side.
show them the way.
He was charged with sort of rebuilding the Dodgers when some of their
The
great
next batter
players
is
were
John
winding
Buck.
down, and the new wave of youngsters was coming up.
In many ways, Alston was
On the ground to
ideally
third.
suited for the job in 59.
Alston was quiet.
Cabrera made a nice throw right there,
baseball
straight
probably
and right on the target.
But the thing about him, I believe, was that he could bring the ball club together.
He didn't say a whole lot. He didn't give me the speeches. But when he did say something, you would listen.
I thought he was a fair man, very strong man. You didn't want to mess with him.
0-2
Under
count.
Alston's guidance, young flamethrowers Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale started pitching with more
Down he
courage.
goes on strike.
While aging icons
After
Dick
3.5,
Smith and
the
Gil
score
Hodges
is
reached
1-0.
back for some village performances. Alston even got former All-Star
Up
Carl
next,
Ferrera to
Lance
accept the bench
Brookman.
role and
This
inserted
guy's a switch
Wally
hitter,
Moon,
but
which
he
would pay
definitely
enormous
prefers to bat
dividends.
right-handed.
Wally Moon. Yeah, he took advantage of that screen in left field like nobody else.
Takes a tailing fastball.
Every time he hit that screen, off the wall or over the wall, they called it a moonshot.
The Dodgers played far better than they had the season before, but they still could not seem to find the spark they needed to reach the top of the standings. Ultimately, a shortstop named Maury Mills and a pitcher named Larry Sherry
The home plate
pushed them into
umpire asks for
contention.
help at third.
Both players had been languishing in the minors and had forged a special bond.
I was going so bad, and I just made a mistake, made an error in the opposition running all over the
Stepping in
bases.
is Miguel
And I
Cabrera.
actually left the field.
No one on and one out.
My uniform off, I was quitting. And Larry Sherry
stay
happened
away
to
from
see
balls
me,
down
and
in the
he
zone with this guy.
grabbed me, pinned me up against the wall. He said, "You can't do that."
Get on the line the other way.
Larry Sherry.
His quick reaction allowed him to make a play on that line drive. Nice play.
The two friends were called up in mid-season and began contributing right away. Sherry as the team's top reliever, and Wills as its new spark plug.
He started getting hits. He hit balls up the middle, ground balls to the left side. Every now and then a line drive. I said, oh,
1-1 pitch.
I mean, this guy has struggled all this time.
Into right
Now
field.
He's got that hitting down right.
The catch is made.
He picked that
Covered a
ball
lot
right
of
up the
ground,
bat, camped under
shortstop.
it
I
for an
mean, he
easy
goes
out.
left, go deep in the hole a lot. He can run like
This
a deer.
game is brought to you by EA Sports. EA Sports, it's in the game.
With his speed, he created a different atmosphere when he got on plate.
That's
He changed the
crushed.
whole club.
Wills beat
And he
opposing
makes
teams
the
with his
play at the
legs,
wall.
and Sherry
got
beat
some
them
kind
with
of
his
athletic
iron
skill.
will.
Anytime
Next
you
up,
talk to
Richie
Larry,
Sexton.
don't worry about it. I can take care of it. Larry had
Pitch misses.
Larry had a belly full of balls. Larry was out there to teach.
Taken for a ball.
And he had a slider that would hit that outside corner, and you swung the ball in there anymore.
He goes out to right.
He would come in and just shut the other
And
team
he
down.
puts it away for the out. Never
The
in
Patchwork
doubt.
Dodgers were suddenly serious
Next at the
pennant
plate,
contenders,
Ichiro.
but they didn't scare anyone.
This southpaw
They were
is
not
a C-plus
statistically
hitter against
overwhelming
right-handed
group,
pitching.
especially when compared to their rivals. In San Francisco, Willie Mays was having another standout season, while Orlando Cepeda, the 1958 Rookie of the
He
Year,
delivers.
was showing no signs of a sophomore slump. And the 1959 Rookie of the Year, Willie McCovey, made
Hits
sure
it
no
foul.
one pitched around him.
Willie scare every pitcher he plays. I mean, when he
Liner
go to
right
that
at the
plate,
third baseman.
he scare everybody.
He's in there with a 2-out
gave the
signal.
Giants the league's
From the
most
time that ball
feared
hit the bat,
trio.
that ball had no chance
It
of
must have
being
been
caught.
frightening because you can go through history and not see
Hit towards second base.
two better hitters at the same time, 3 Hall of Famers in a row.
But still, when it came to
He's on
overall
first with a
talent,
base
no
hit.
National League team could stack
That was
up
some good
against the
base running right
Milwaukee
there to go
Braves.
from first to third.
We'd won the
base hit.
pennant in 57. We had won it in 58.
Gill comes to the plate.
expectations were very high for our club. We were the team to beat.
Loaded with perennial all-stars and future Hall of Famers, the
Taken for a
Braves
ball.
were a powerhouse. On the mound, they boasted the league's 2 best big-game pitchers in Lou Burdette and Warren Spahn. Burdette
Hit
had
to
earned
left
his
field.
reputation by beating the Yankees 3 times in the 57
That's
series,
the third out
while
with Quinn
Spahn
left on
would win
base.
more games than any left-hander in history.
He could handle adversity. He could handle
After
men
4
getting on
1/2,
base.
the score is
And he
1-0.
would still go his neck and do well. You know, Burdette was the same way.
In 59,
Dirksen
Burdette and
digs in at the
Spahn were
plate.
on top of their games as they led the league in innings pitched, complete games, shutouts, and wins. And when they were off their game, they could usually depend on the potent Braves offense, led by the devastating duo of Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews. Matthews led the league in home runs in 59.
And on 3 pitches, he's gone.
3 pitches, 3 strikes. Doesn't get easier
While
than that,
Aaron
partner.
finished 3rd in round trippers and 1st in batting average, as he once again displayed his overall brilliance.
The next batter is Manny Ramirez.
The people overlooked him. Well, he was as good as anybody.
What a shot!
He was a very fine
A
baseman.
solo
Very
home
fine
run.
fielder. But his hat never flew off. And he didn't have the charisma.
As a batter,
that made his
take
game.
advantage when
He
he was
was so steady, so solid, so strong, so good.
He was probably, for most of his career, you know, one of the superstars that pretty much went unknown.
In many ways, Aaron's quiet excellence mirrored that of his often overlooked Braves. And never was that more evident than on May 26th, when Harvey Haddix of the Pittsburgh Pirates grabbed the baseball spotlight by pitching 12 perfect innings against Milwaukee.
And the pitch.
Haddix got the headlines, but Braves pitcher Burdette threw a 12-hit shutout, and Milwaukee won the game in 13 innings.
Bueller cracked his bat. There's an out.
He just loves to come inside and break bats. That was a sweet example of that.
I really felt bad for Harvey losing the ball game because it has been and always will be the biggest game ever pitched in the history of baseball.
This guy's dangerous in the batter's box.
But
In fact,
I
he's dangerous
felt
beyond
bad
extra.
about it, but I got what I wanted.
He
was a
swiped
win.
1 base.
As the National League race came down the stretch, the Dodgers and Giants were prepared to give the Braves a run for their money. But if Harvey
That'll do it
Haddix
for the
couldn't
Red
beat
Sox
Milwaukee
in
after
the 5th
pitching
inning.
12 perfect innings,
With 5 innings
it didn't seem
played,
likely
Seattle
that
trails
anyone
by
else
2.
could either.
But the third baseman could determine whether or not this guy tries to bunt for a hit. He plays back, he could lay one down.
For they were
Line
once again
drive right to
mired
the
in
second
mediocrity.
baseman.
But they did have
Good
one
start to
bright
the inning.
spot,
A leadoff
the play of
single.
their superstar shortstop.
I've seen this guy
Ernie
make these
Banks.
kinds of plays before. This time, though, a little short.
I was just ready to play.
Coming
ready
to the plate with
compete,
1 single today,
ready to help
Adrian
the Cubs
Beltre.
win.
In 59, Banks would hit
1 on
45
and no one
homers
out.
and lead the league in RBIs
A ball.
with 143, while becoming the first National Leaguer to win back-to-back MVPs.
To win the MVP award is really an amazing thing. I say that to myself. And on a team that finished 5th.
While the north side of Chicago was home to a one-man wrecking crew,
Right now, the
on
defense
the
should be
south
thinking,
side,
too, the
right
pitcher
hand
can
White
really
Sox were
help
having
out by doing
success
something
with
no
a
one strikes.
two-man approach, winning with pitching and defense.
2-1.
When you know you're not going to get more than maybe
The
3 runs
delivery.
in a ball game, you are bearing down with every
Line
single
drive
pitch.
to
And
left.
that is exactly what they did, as pitchers Bob Shaw, Billy Pierce, and Early
next,
Wynn
John
helped the
Buck.
Sox lead the league in ERA. And with Fox and Aparicio driving their opponents crazy,
Here comes the
Chicago
first pitch
won a
of the
league-high
at-bat. The pitch is hit to
35
center
one-run
field.
games.
He makes the catch.
And the fans at Comiskey Park.
Hey, I'm sure he came out here with the intention of having a great game, but hey, it's baseball.
They would
Sometimes
holler,
things just
chant,
don't work
go,
out the way
go,
you planned.
go, and you know, you get
50,000 people screaming, go, 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 go. I mean, you've got your adrenaline going.
White Sox! White Sox! Go, go! White Sox!
Third out, we go to the bottom of the inning. Going into the bottom of the sixth, the Mariners trail by only 2 runs. Miyagi takes, and it's ball 1.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. Exactly what you saw right there.
White Sox! White Sox! Go, go! White Sox!
And the 1-1. Pitch missed inside.
They're going to have to do something here. Some of these pitches ain't even close.
To steal over 100 bases. And Little Louie finished second in the MVP voting. A player who finished first had the fewest strikeouts in the league and was Acaricio's partner in crime, Larry Fox. While Early Wynn, at age 39, would lead the major leagues in wins and captured the Cy Young Award.
Well, you're talking about making a good pitch right there. He was really backed up against the wall, and then he digs deep, makes great pitches, and gets the strikeout.
They were simply too fast to
Stepping in, Johnny
Chicago finished ahead of New York and second place Oakland.
That's some serious heat. 98 miles an hour on the gun, but it misses for a ball.
Second, but to beat the Yankees was number 1.
And finally,
this guy loves to turn on balls in under his hands.
When they captured the American League pennant.
They asked the third base umpire if he swung. The ball is hit right back up the middle.
Their victory set off a base hit celebration that stretched
the Mariners have a righty warming up in the bullpen.
Around 50,000 people at Midway Airport.
Next up, Lance.
This is 2 o'clock in the morning.
It was wild, you know, it's something that
out of the zone, that's a ball.
Your mind, my God, there's tons of people.
Having all those people at the airport made us feel great.
283 with 21
it's something
long
that
balls
obviously I will
and
never
69 RBIs.
The Go-Go Sox were riding high and getting ready for the World Series. But in the National League, the question remained whether the Dodgers or the Giants were good enough to dethrone the Braves.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Hey, partner, if the pitcher can keep the ball low in the zone, he might be able to induce a ground ball to start too.
That's 6 strikeouts.
The Braves, Giants, and Dodgers were locked in a 3-team race for the National League crown. With the Giants and Dodgers fighting for the
next at the plate, Miguel Cabrera.
In 1951, a late-season Giant charge helped them catch the Dodgers and led to a climactic playoff game. And a pennant-winning home run by the Giants' Bobby Thompson.
Now, the pitcher does not want to fall any further behind this guy, so he should be coming in with something across the plate. Keeping that in mind, this could be a perfect time to hit and run.
For the Dodgers, a heated rivalry had now turned bitter.
I think the 51 playoffs not only stayed with the players who were on the 51 team, but I think the Dodgers being a very
for the Red Sox with 3 innings left to play.
I think they all heard the stories of the 51 playoffs. Even the players who weren't there carried that albatross
the next
on
batter
their
is
shoulders.
Rocco Baldelli.
The Giants, you know, better dead than the Giants. If I saw Willie Mays on the freeway,
sends a shallow fly ball to the right side.
Sorry, Willie. You're Giants, you better call AAA.
But the 59 Dodgers managed to get a measure of revenge on the rivals as the pesky Roaring Wills led them to a crucial September
Richie Sexton.
It's a good fun situation right here.
The Dodgers go on to defeat San Francisco 8-4.
The Giants were done.
He barehands
but the Dodger
out at first base
as the Braves beat the Phillies on the last day of the season to force a playoff. A playoff few thought the Dodgers would survive.
Milwaukee was so good that year.
Stepping in, Ichiro.
Won a couple of years before in the National League, and everybody thought, well, this is the team to beat.
We were
Gets
actually
a ground
happy
ball the other way.
to end up in a tie because we matched
He's
up
got good
well
wheels, and he hustled all the way down the line.
We were very confident.
Next up,
and we fully
Aramis
expected to win
Ramirez.
the playoffs.
There aren't many holes in this righty swing when he's up against right-handed pitching.
Undaunted.
The ball is hit to center.
Man for man, if you were in the match on paper.
He's on his way to the plate.
But
A run crosses the plate.
Okay, they're making some good decisions on the base paths. The runner scoring from second on that single was a good example.
We went there to win.
And as the first game began, the Braves took an early
Curve
lead.
misses inside for a ball.
And then Dodger manager Walter Alston acted quickly, making the boldest of moves. He brought in his ace reliever Larry Shea in the second inning.
Well, he's the boss.
Sharply hit ground ball up the middle.
He's going to pick whoever he wants, and he knows Larry wants to come in.
The tying run scores.
And Larry wants to pitch.
That's the bad throw. No ifs, ands, or
Shea
buts
made
about it.
Alston's gamble pay off as he completely shut the
The
Braves
skipper has
down.
pulled the infield in.
He knew he could do it. And he wanted to do it. And he did it.
And then Johnny Roseboro homered, and the Dodgers ended up with an improbable
The bullpen is
3-2
busy.
victory.
The manager's going to come
But
out
back
to
in
give
Los
them a little
Angeles
bit
for
more
the second
room.
game, the Braves
I like
showed
the
their
timing on this
championship
visit. Wow.
pedigree as they knocked out Don Drysdale and took a 5-2 lead into the ninth inning.
And
with
a
the
swing
unflappable
and a
Ruben
miss.
dead on the mound, the game seemed over.
He's got a good situation going. Let's see what happens.
The old boys of summer.
Great pitch on the blast. Would have been a call strike even if the batter didn't swing
delivered
through.
key hits, knocking Burdett out of the game, and Ferraro tied it with a sacrifice fly.
Oh, that fastball wasn't even close. That hitter took that ball easily.
We just got some momentum at the end. I don't know, we just reached back and got some Dodger pride.
And then with the
Stepping
score
in
tied
one
in the
for
12th,
three, Adrian
they reached
Beltre.
back one more time.
Up again.
Bringing in a righty to face the right-handed hitter is a good move for him because it creates a mismatch. Pitcher's hand.
He smashes it, but his throw bounces past first base, and Rogers cuts home with the run that wins the pennant from the Dodgers.
First pitch. There's a drive. No one's going to catch that one. Home run.
Hey, Kite, there are not too many ballparks that would have held that
But
one.
we did.
Here's how to feel the Dodgers winning the pennant again. It always feels wonderful winning a pennant. I think this has a little bit special feeling for the boys because we were counted out of it many times because we were doing
is up.
I think that the experience
This
came
batter
through and
absolutely
people were
destroys
still,
right-handed pitching.
As the 1959 World Series got set to open on the south side of Chicago, for the first time in 40 years, there was a feeling of joyful
Hits the center
anticipation.
field.
For Southsiders, the Black Sox scandal was a distant memory, and even the Dodgers players couldn't
Hey,
help
partner,
having a
it's time
sense of
now for
wonder
the
being on
seventh
the
inning
big
stretch.
stage.
Didn't you sing recently at Wrigley Field?
Oh, I sure did. When I was in the league, I could pitch in front of 50,000 people, but that was like going to my backyard, singing to take me out to the ball game at Wrigley. I was scared to death.
The glamour.
The White Sox player least likely to be overwhelmed with the enormity of the moment was their ace early win. He controlled the Dodger offense from the start, while the White Sox pounded Los Angeles starter Roger Craig.
Pitchers ahead, 1-2.
Ted Krasuski, a power-hitting late-season pickup and the least go-go of all the Sox, who would lead the onslaught.
That's a liner back
Big
through the
K's 2
middle.
homers and 5 RBIs keyed an 11-0 run.
Good start to the inning. Leadoff single.
They win the first game 11-0. So I'm sure the whole city thought this is going to be it. We're finally going to lift that curse of the 1919 Black Sox.
Here's the pitch.
White Sox fans would have been far
Chases a
less
high fastball,
optimistic
nothing
if they
in
had
two.
listened to the Dodgers post-game conversations.
I'll never forget what Don Zimmer said. We got on the bus.
That's a three-pitch strikeout.
Hey, partner, you steal a term from hockey. That strikeout was the old hat trick for that guy.
Go Sox, my butt.
Game 2 started well enough for the
Stepping in
Go-Go
with
Sox
one
as
home
they took
run,
a 2-0
Manny
first
Ramirez.
inning lead. But the resilient Dodgers were just getting started as they came roaring back behind second baseman Charlie Neal's 2 home runs.
But it's Al Smith.
He swung through the pitch.
Remember the picture where the fan knocks the beer over and Al Smith, all that
Out of
beer
the
hits him
zone,
on the
that's a
head?
ball.
Well, I gave up that pitch.
Neal's second homer gave L.A. the lead. And Larry Shea closed out the Sox to tie the series at 1.
He puts it away.
The Dodgers have come back from a decisive setback in the
nice pitch there to get the fly ball.
protected a Padres victory.
The series would now shift to LA. During the season, the Dodgers were the only team to draw over 2 million people. And now record crowds would stream into the Coliseum to urge their heroes on.
92,000 people there. And I was in awe of what was happening. I mean, it was so exciting. You had to pinch yourself for this.
Swing and a miss.
Pitch said, come and get it, but the batter could not find that slide.
6,000 people. That was huge. They haven't played before 90-some thousand. They didn't even know.
The Dodgers and Red Sox treated the huge crowd to a tense and heartfelt game. Caulfield's two-run single had given the Dodgers a lead. When Don Drysdale tired in the 8th, Walter Alston once again gave the ball to Larry Sherry. With the bases loaded and the Red Sox trailing by 2, Sherry was again at his best.
The ball is hit to right. This one is pulled foul.
Every time he pitched, he got into a tougher and tougher situation. I'm holding my breath, and he kept pitching good and getting guys out.
And then Sherry blew away the Sox in the 9th to clinch the victory.
That'll do it for the Red Sox in the 7th.
The Dodgers' Game 3 victory had put the pressure
With 2
squarely
innings
on
left,
the White
the
Sox
Mariners
for Game
lead
4.
5-2.
And they would respond by trying to run their way back into the series.
Kaipi has nothing on the ball.
The Dodgers don't have any catching. They can't throw out Appalachia.
But Beck would find out that Roseboro was the National League's best at throwing out runners. He stopped the Go-Go Sox in their tracks by nailing 3 of the 5 Chicago runners in the series.
Roseboro took care of that.
With the score tied at 4 in the 8th inning, one big hit would make the difference.
This is a titanic ball game. It's building up.
Like
1 and 2 the count.
But that pitcher and catcher have strategy in mind. So far, the batters are taking these
pitches. Who would come through?
2 ball, 2 strike count.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly what you saw right there.
Strike 3 and he's gone.
Hey, sometimes you make a good pitch, and that was one of them. Big strikeout there.
For LA and put them 1 win away from a championship.
At bat with a single, Rocco Baldelli.
Trailing 3 games to 1, Chicago was on the brink of elimination.
Back up to him. He's
but in
laid
Game
out.
5, they would respond in true Go-Go Sox fashion and squeak out a win.
He really doesn't make a very good throw here, but lucky for him, his teammate picks him up and makes a play out.
Returning to Chicago for the 6th game, Sox manager Al Lopez chose to gamble by starting
the Mariners
his early
have someone throwing in their bullpen.
2 days rest.
He said early win was the guy I wanted out.
Next at the plate,
If there's a game I have to win, it's going to be early win.
But Duke Snyder, another charter member of the Boys of Summer,
0-1
stepped
count.
up and ruined Lopez's plan.
He pulls a ground ball to the left side. The Mariners are warming up a lefty and a righty in the bullpen.
With Snyder's blast, they had proved again that they were not done.
He
Adding to
delivers.
Dodger ball.
A 3-pitch strikeout.
Second place behind Babe Ruth.
The Dodgers now have the lead, but the White Sox staged a desperate rally.
After
behind
7 and a
another
half,
consistent
Boston
home
trails
run.
by 3.
And the White Sox
Bringing in the lefty here is a good move because
But
left-handed
like
hitters
Al
can have trouble
Lopez,
picking up the
Dodger
breaking.
manager Walter Alston was also not afraid to make a bold move. He brought in his red-hot reliever Larry Sherry to close out the game with more than 5 innings left to play. Once again, Sherry would reward Alston's faith.
I think Sherry was the key difference of that World Series. Just everything he did was right.
With 2 wins and 2 saves, Sherry earned the series MVP and a place in history with one of the World Series
He comes
greatest
up a little bit
performances.
short. They got him.
I said, my God, I can't believe he's my little brother. I was so proud of him.
The players swarm around Larry Sherry, outstanding hero of the series.
The Dodgers had proved to be far more resilient than anyone had given them credit for.
At bat with a single, Johnny Damon.
Playoff runs in baseball history, the Boys of Summer had earned one last moment in the sun.
Ball high.
The decade of the 50s had been a time of great stability on and off the field. The 60s would bring explosive change across the country.
Swinging strike.
But baseball would continue to provide a welcome oasis of continuity. Just like the 50s, the role of the National League's premier team would fall to the Dodgers, who were only just beginning to win in Los Angeles.
So far, the batters are
They would
taking
capture 3 pennants and 2 World Series in the 60s.
Fly ball to right. A little too early, and he pulls it foul. He delivers.
In 1962, they
got it.
would
What
leave
a
the much-maligned
tremendous
Coliseum
diving
and move to
play.
Dodger Stadium. This beautiful ballpark
Hey, that
would
ball
become an
was
iconic
screaming
baseball
through the
venue
infield
that
until
the
it met
Dodgers
his
still
glove.
call
Great
home
play to save a
today.
hit right there.
As for World Series hero Larry Sherry,
The next batter is Lance Brookman.
against great championship performances, but he would never match his postseason accomplishments. His teammate, Maury Wills, however, was only getting started.
Misses outside.
He would steal over 100 bases in the
Guardado
1962
with the
season
1-0.
and become the catalyst for 2 more World Championship teams. A player who once thought he was going to be a career minor leaguer.
Out of the zone,
He would
that's
even
a
win
ball.
the Most Valuable Player award
Here's
in
the 2-1
1962,
pitch.
beating out his giant rival, Willie Mays.
Well, I won the MVP when really felt that he should have had it. He's still telling me
And
about
the
that.
inning is over.
I'm saying, really, it's been too long now.
With
You
1
gotta
inning
get
left
it.
to play, the Red
The
Sox
Braves
trail
run
by
as a
3.
powerhouse was at an end.
Stepping in 2
They
for
would
3,
take many years to
Ichiro.
reclaim World Series glory.
Here we
and
go.
would
This is
never
what it's
do
all
so
about,
in
big boy.
Milwaukee. The team would move to Atlanta in 1966.
Bringing in a lefty to face the
and would
left-handed
not
hitter
win
is
a
a good move
championship
part because
until
it creates a mismatch in the pitcher's
1995.
favor.
The team of the 90s has its world championship.
The fielder is retreating.
And in
It's off the wall.
The Yankees
He's
would not
rounding
take long
first.
to regroup. They would win the next 5
Stand-up
pennants
double.
and return to their position
That
of
was
American
not an
League
easy pitch to
preeminence.
hit, but he was able to
But
lay
for
out a double.
Chicago, it wasn't going to be that easy. In 1959, they had come closer to winning a World Series than any other Sox team since the 1919 Black Sox. It was a glorious run, but
At
it would
bat
prove
with
to
a
be
single,
fleeting.
Aramis
The
Ramirez.
Sox would not get back to the series for 46 years. But this time, Chicago would finally have its long-awaited celebration.
The White Sox winner and a world championship. The White Sox have won the World Series. Enjoy the celebration, Chicago. This is
They need to move that run over to third base right here. The batter needs to get a ball he can drive to the right
Baseball
side.
fans everywhere will never get over the remarkable
Swung out and
stories that
missed.
came
The
out of the
fastball
1959 season.
That was a perfect pitch.
And those who were a
right
part
on
of
the
it
edge of the
will
strike zone.
always
The batter
cherish
swung right
their
through it.
place in baseball world.
3 pitches, 3 strikes.
Hey, sometimes you make a good pitch, and that was one of them. Big strikeout there for him.
Gill is next. Line drive. He's rounding third. That'll be a double.
That's good enough to move him up 90 feet. Good execution.
Pitch misses for a ball.
Hitters got to try and elevate that ball to the outfield straight away from first.
2 balls, no strike count.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. It's not too much solid.
3 balls, no strikes.
In fact, the pitcher and catcher had a strategy in mind. So far, the batters are taking these pitches.
And he takes the walk.
Oh, it's too bad he walks this guy.
Welcome to
Just lets him get
baseball
away.
seasons,
At bat
1961.
with 3 runs batted in already. Adrian Beltre.
magical 60 mark or beyond makes Choice Sports Coffee.
In the world of sports in 1961, there was no bigger story than Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris, who side by side slugged their way into the hearts and minds of the American people.
Baseball was the dominant sport, and those two men dominated sports in this country.
Together, these teammates, roommates, and friendly rivals chased each other in history as they approached the legendary Babe Ruth's hallowed home run record.
And the run comes home.
There's one. It is going. It is going. It is going. How about that?
That triple empties the bases.
Look back today, nothing ever equaled the Maris Mantle chase in 61.
From the start of 1961, history was being made as John F. Kennedy, the country's youngest ever elected president, was sworn into office. From the space race to the building of the Berlin Wall to the dance craze known as the Twist, a new day was dawning. And baseball was also coming to an historic crossroads.
For 60 years, from 1901 through 1960, the two major leagues had each consisted of 8-team leagues, and they played a very predictable set number of games, 154.
That one is driven deep to center.
But in 1961, that would change as the American League added two new teams. The Washington Senators were moving to Minnesota to become the Twins, only to be replaced by a new Senators franchise in D.C. There was also a new team in Los Angeles, the Angels. And as a result of the expansion, the AL would play 162 games instead of 154. The National League was still on a 154-game schedule and wouldn't expand until 1962. But the NL had already changed in a different way. Quicker to embrace racial integration, the league had been tapping into a deeper pool of talent and had won 5 of the last 7 World Series titles, including 1960.
And on 3 pitches,
This
he's
year,
gone.
the Fall Classic opened at Forbes Field.
Wednesday, October 5th, dawned bright
Going
and
into
sunny.
the bottom of the
It was
ninth, the
perfect
Red
World
Sox
Series
trail
weather.
by 7.
Representing the AL in '60 were the mighty Yankees,
Stepping
led
in,
by their power
Miguel
hitters Mickey
Cabrera.
Mantle and Roger Maris.
Hey, Kipe, as a
Their
manager,
opponents
you
from the
hate to see
NL
this
were
guy come
perennial
up. His
also
speed makes
rans,
him
the
a constant
Pirates.
threat.
Pittsburgh hadn't been in the series since 1927, when they had been pounded by the famed Murderers Row Yankees, led by Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
The 1960 Yankees showed up for that World Series with the idea that that was going to be another of their 4-game
Line straight up
sweeps,
the
just
middle.
the same as they had done to the Pirates in
They
27.
shifted off the inning.
But these Pirates proved much more difficult to put away. Led by Mantle and Maris, the Yanks outscored the Bucks 55-27 in the series. But in the bottom of the ninth of a classic Game 7, Pittsburgh's Bill Mazeroski shocked the baseball world.
He's off to second. That's a stolen base.
Kipe, it's almost like the pitcher forgot the row was over there.
We just will never forget
There's a
that
strike.
moment.
He's
Anyone
hitting
who was there
268
or any of the
with
players
15
that
home
participated in
runs
that
and
game
89 RBIs.
will never forget that sight with that ball clearing that fence
On
at
the
that
ground.
time. It's just like it happened yesterday.
He's around third.
For the Yankees, it was the most painful of
That's an
defeats.
RBI single.
After the Yankees
guys are
lost that
really
World
running the
Series,
bases
I
well.
wandered
That
into the
aggressiveness
Yankees
showed right
clubhouse.
there as the runner
I
scored
looked
from
over
second on
and
the
Mickey
single.
Mantle was sitting there. He had his uniform top off and just his undershirt, so to speak, and he just sat there because he had to pinch himself to feel out whether or not this really happened.
He was actually crying in the clubhouse. He was
Here comes
embarrassed
the
that
first pitch
Pittsburgh
of the
beat us.
at-bat. Long fly ball.
Soon,
Way
the
back,
blame was pinned on
and
the
see you
colorful
later.
but aging Yankee manager, Casey Stengel.
There is a program that's going on with the Yankees, and it has an annuity program, and the annuity program means that after a certain length of time, some people think you should retire.
Stengel had long been considered a master motivator, a genius who'd led New York to 10 pennants in 12
Next up,
years.
Manny Ramirez.
Now, as the 1961 season approached, the Yankees had to recover from a tough loss in the series and the loss of their skipper. And while the team still had high expectations, there were serious questions about whether they could reach them.
Got him for the out.
As the Yankees assembled for training camp in March 1961, they were greeted by a new manager for the first time since 1949, as Ralph Houck had replaced the legendary Casey Stengel.
That spring, there was a lot of writers came to me and said, what did I learn from Casey?
He's on his way
and I
to
said,
second.
Well, nothing like how to manage my own way.
Safe. He
But
slides
Houck
in there
was
with a
very
double.
different than most expected,
Good swing, good
as the
hustle,
former
and a
war
little
hero
luck
did not
contributed
have
to
a
the extra
military
base hit.
approach in
Super
mind on the diamond.
As a World War II Ranger and
The Mariners
winner of the
turn it over to the
Bronze
pen.
Star, the
The
Silver
new
Star, and the
pitcher,
Purple
Matt
Heart,
Ginter.
people think of you as a pretty tough guy. Are you going to be a tough manager?
I think, Tom, that I'm going to be a ball player's manager.
Houck had played with or coached most of the 61 Yankees and was well acquainted with their roster. His first change involved Whitey Ford, a Yankee since 1950.
That runner on second
Ford
is
had
going
been
to be
long
going
considered
on
the
anything
game's
hit on the
top
ground to the right
clutch
side.
pitcher.
In that situation, the fielders need to get the
Question
shirt out
is,
at first.
if there's one game you want to
That's
win,
the second
who do you
out.
want pitching it? And the answer consistently was
Miyagi steps into the
Whitey
batter's
Ford.
box.
Many felt that Stengel had cost the Yankees the 1960 World Series by not starting Ford in the opening game against Pittsburgh. So while Ford shut out the
Swing
Bucks
and a miss
twice,
on the
he
pitch
wasn't
on the
available to
corner.
pitch the seventh and deciding game.
That seventh game, which we lost 10-9, I said, that's the game I should be pitching.
No swing.
I was so damn mad.
Learning the lesson from the Pirate loss, Houck was
Just out of the
determined to get
fielder's
the
reach.
most out of
Nice
Ford.
play with the bare
During the
hand.
previous regular
And that'll
seasons,
do it.
Stengel had often held Ford back to pitch against the league's toughest lineups. The new manager had other ideas.
Well,
The
what happened
Mariners
with Ralph,
have won
it was
4
funny. He
straight
said to me,
games.
can you pitch every fourth day?
The
And I
final
said,
score, the
said to him,
Mariners
right, I can.
9, the Boston Red Sox
Houck
5.
knew that the other key for the team was Mantle. His approach to his top slugger was more psychological.
When we come out of spring training, Ralph had told me, whatever you do is what we're going to do this year. Now, I was really up, like a high school football player, you know, you can get up. And he started making me feel like that I really was the best there was.
Many thought Mantle already was the best. A Yankee since 1951 and the driving force behind their latest dynasty.
He threw better than anybody ever threw in baseball. He hit baseballs further than anybody had ever hit in baseball.
He hit these long, majestic, towering fly balls. Seemed like miles and miles away.
Mantle hit the high fly ball. It's deep left center field. It's way out there. It's way out there, and it is in there. I mean it's in there.
I mean, you can close your eyes and watch him speed over the outfield and make catches over his head. Mickey was just somebody who was amazing. He was amazing every day.
Mantle's resume included a list of historic feats. He had already won the Triple Crown, back-to-back MVPs, and would end up with more home runs in the World Series than any other player.
There's one at stake there. It is going down.
And the list could have been even longer. It seemed as if the Mick could do anything except stay healthy.
He hurt his knee in '51, and he played the rest of his career without a real good leg.
He was always in pain. He always had something wrong with him.
He'd get a massage every day before the game, and then he'd get this elastic foam rubber and wrap it from his ankles to the cheek of his fanny on both legs and go out and play.
I can remember one of the New York papers running a photograph of Mantle with an arrow and a medical explanation pointing to every place in his body where he had been injured. But the remarkable thing was, in spite of all that, he still was having those 300 seasons and those 40 home run years.
An ailing leg fails to stop Mantle.
He did it all, and he did it all on a bad leg.
As Mickey went, so went the Yankees. And when they needed him, he was there, even if he had to play with his legs taped from ankle to hip.
It was like he just ignored the injuries. They could slow him down, but they couldn't stop him at all. He was still doing heroic things.
As 1961 started, Whitey and Mickey did their best to carry the Yanks, with Ford off to a strong start and Mantle hitting 9 homers in the season's first 18 games.
There's one.
They proved just what Ralph wanted, that they could carry a ball club, that if the team wasn't hitting or playing good defense or running the base well, Whitey would keep in the ball game. We were down by a couple of runs or tie late. Mickey would come out and win the ball game with his bat.
But as brilliant as Mantle and Ford were, the rest of the Yankees were struggling.